In the tips and hints section of this video, I'm going to give you some tips and hints that are going to assist you in getting the very best out of your game. My first tip is securing the board. You'll notice that it comes in 3 separate pieces and they are magnetized to make sure that they're joined together nice and firmly. However, you'll see here I've rested my boards on some school desks, but this is not always possible. So what you might want to do is get some trestles or a trestle table and rest the board on top of that. The disadvantage of that is that you'll see some sagging on the ends and on the sides. To get around this, purchase yourself a piece of shutterboard. Rest it on top of the trestle or the trestle table and you'll get a nice flat surface. This will ensure that the board does not collapse if children lean on it on its sides or on its ends. More often than not, your children are going to be building their homes off-site, away from the board. And one of the challenges is for them to get the exact dimensions of their property. I'm going to show you now a clever way of getting that done accurately. What you need is a piece of green card that's as closely matched to the board color as possible, a piece of tracing paper, a pencil, and a ruler. Take the tracing paper and trace around the dimensions of the child's property, like so. Then turn the tracing paper over and place it on the green card, and once again go over where the dimensions that you've already marked, like this. Press quite hard now because you want what's on the tracing paper come through onto the green card. Your pencil can be fairly blunt, as this allows you to press down harder. And there you have it, in exact dimensions in proportion. The children can then take this home, build their property on here, and bring their green card in and stick it down with press stick onto the board. You'll notice only half of the tracing paper has been used. You can probably share one piece between 2 people. A couple of novel ways to further enhance the fun and excitement in the game is that if a player or a child is having a birthday during the course of the game, get the other people in the class to pay them R2 as a gift. Another thing you could do is you could charge the children R1 every time they want to go to the toilet during lessons. This stops those children that constantly want a breather because now they've got to pay to go there. Another fun thing you can do is if the children aren't listening and you're battling to get control, is you could charge them R10 for hearing aids because they can't hear you when you're trying to speak. These are just fun ways of trying to create more of an atmosphere around the game. Disasters have been mentioned in the game, but I think it's important that I add to it. The key to the disasters is not to create an environment where the child whose house or children whose houses have been picked on are now kind of bottom of the ladder and have got no hope. Try and create an environment where they somehow feel special. Some examples of disasters that I've done in the past is you could have a flood, monsoon, earthquake, even a volcano. A nice idea is have a volcano and get a whole lot of cotton wool and spread it over the board. You don't want to destroy too many houses, maximum 2 at any disaster, otherwise the whole class's spirit will be dropped. Another nice idea is possibly after the first auction, not all the properties will be sold. Then what you can do is create squatters on the land, and this can devalue the prices in that area. There's a whole range of different disasters that you can do. Just use your imagination and enjoy it. What I also like to do after the disaster is type a tongue-in-cheek article in our newspaper about the events that unfolded the day before the disaster. This gives a light-hearted note to the disaster, as well as it making the person who it happened to feel that little bit more special. A good tip, go to your headmaster, ask them to pick a number from 1 to 28 or however many houses you've got. And if they choose number 14, house number 14 will be the one that you do the disaster to. It's up to you. Don't do too many disasters. I'd say maximum 2 during the course of the game, but it keeps the game exciting and the kids really, really enjoy it. With the advent of internet banking and EFT, which exist in the game, a nice idea is to possibly introduce some internet fraud. What I do is I write a letter in business speak, to 3 individuals in the class that's confidential. In the letter, it asks them to invest 100 Rand with me, and I promise to double their money. They're not to tell any other pupils, and there's a whole lot of things in the letter that kind of lead them astray, that they may think there's something fishy going on. For example, the name of the company is Corruption Inc. My directors are I'm a Fraud and Robin Banks. Kids do fall for it, and they do invest the money. When they come to you and ask you for the return on investment, you look at them as if you don't know what's going on. Leading up from this, give the children the option to take you to court. Now, find a Friday afternoon, last hour, get your headmaster or headmistress to dress in the academic gown and hold a court case. Here the children can have lawyers representing them, they can represent themselves, and they can literally take you, the teacher, to court over the issue of fraud. They can also take you to court over the issue of arson once the disaster's been done. What I recommend is have a court roll in your gabble and gossip, and here they can write down what their grievances are, and we can have a courtroom day where children are found guilty or not guilty. Your headmaster will make those decisions, and if they're found guilty, they can go to jail, and jail means they stop earning a salary for the duration of their sentence. Alternatively, they can pay a fine or damages to the person who took them to court. They really enjoy this. Try and make it as serious as possible. Get your policeman to arrest you, all those kind of things. Try and make it fun and lighthearted. Ultimately, paying those kids back who are victims of fraud. A really nice idea. Sometimes the hawkers' licenses can be problematic. You'll hear moms as well as teachers complaining that their children are constantly on sugar highs because of all the junk that they're eating and selling at breaks. I also mentioned earlier, some moms or dads are more involved in their children's lives than others, and they have the opportunity to help and assist them make homemade goods for a hawker's day. What I suggest, and it works really well, is to have a hawker's day where children can buy a license, and on that particular day they can display their goods. Give 50 Rand to the grade below them of Real Life for Kids cash, which they can then spend on the goods for sale on the day. This is a once-off punchy hit of the day and doesn't drag through the duration of the game. Another really good idea is to offer what I call green bonuses. With the focus these days on a greener, more self-sustainable earth, you can offer the children discounts on the price of their homes if they make it out of recycled material. So for example, instead of charging them 50 Rand for every 3 by 3 centimeter block, you may reduce that to 30 Rand if they make it out of those materials. Further to that, when they do their tenders, their airports, etc., if they can prove that they've made those out of recycled material, you can also give them extra cash for that effort. It's a really kind of fun way of bringing in the environment into the game and seeing what they can do with those things. Another thing you can do is if on their homes, for example, they have solar panels, Jojo tanks, whatever it is, reward them handsomely for that because they're showing an awareness. Another really good idea is at the end of the game, once you've found out who the winners are and understand what the various prizes are, have an awards evening. Invite the moms and dads to the school, have your boards on display, ask them to bring a plate to eat, and then get your mayors and other children in the class to run the evening. Here, you will reward players for various things that they did in their game, and it works really well to close off a long and enjoyable season of Real Life for Kids. I understand as a teacher myself that the 2 major issues in playing the game is number 1, space, and the other one is time. Looking through the video, you're going to be saying, where am I going to get the time to do any of this? This is the brilliance of the game, is that it's fluid. It's not really interrupting your everyday timetable. Your children will still go to their normal lessons, and the game runs in the background of your normal school day. Don't worry if you don't complete all the modules. You can be selective of the modules you want to do and the ones you want to leave out, as explained in the website. And if you think you're doing something wrong, you are never doing anything wrong. You can take the game in any direction. You can even stop the game at any time. and close the bank and give it a rest. Don't feel pressure that you're not getting to all the times in the game. The game really is about you, and the kids will have a fantastic time whether you play it all 12 modules or you just do a basic 7. Not all schools are blessed with big classrooms. The board, as you can see, is quite big, and you're wondering how you're going to fit it in your classroom. What I do is I place my board in the middle of the class, and I put my chairs and tables in a U shape around the board so that the board becomes the focal point for the game. This does certainly help with space. Alternatively, if you have to, you can put your boards in another venue, but try and make it as accessible as possible to the children, because they need to be touching, feeling it, and interacting with it every day. You will notice that none of the properties, tenders, businesses, etc. are marked on the board. I've done that on purpose to provide you with the flexibility, as you may want to put things in different places. Exactly where everything should go can be found on the website under a graphic, and it'll show you exactly where Slim Park is, exactly where Green Pines is, exactly, for example, where the hospital needs to go, and so on. Just something that you might want to consider. This is originally for Cliff View, and the island over there is for the hotel and casino. You may want to change those around. I have found kids wanting to have their major property on the island as opposed to looking over the top over here. But that's up to you. A really good idea is to portion off a section of pinboard in your classroom and call it your weekly newspaper. I call mine the Gabble and Gossip, and here I put on all my jobs, the policeman, postman, bus conductor, etc. I put the kids' names there and who's doing what job for the week. I put my weekly journalist article up here so the kids can read what's going on. I put a graphic of my board which spells out exactly where each property goes. It's a really nice go-to place and kind of gives the game a home in your classroom. And finally, also available to you on the website are about 17 to 19 hours of curriculum for the children. These provide an academic foundation to the game. I sometimes like to do it in the term preceding the game, and I steal my social sciences throughout. I can also play it during the game, but once again, we have the luxury of taking social sciences and making these worksheets fit into those subjects. What do they study? They look at the history of money and banking, the developments of towns and cities. They look at how towns are run, the South African legal system, the stock exchange, and finally, the budget of South Africa. Once again, I'll express that this provides an academic foundation and has questions, answers, everything available there to the pupils. That brings us to the end of the video. If you have any further questions or queries, please go to our website, contact us, and we'll immediately assist you. Thank you very much.